just want to put a few things to you and just a few things. Would you agree with me that since the risk assessment to identify a delta P hazard was not made at the beginning, or let's say whether the scope works or in the method of statement, but that failure would have had a ripple effect throughout the process of the work?
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah. And would you not agree with me that LMCS had a duty of care to its workers?
We do.
And to do everything that was reasonable in the circumstances?
I would.
Since you, from your witness statement, says that you knew what delta P was and differential pressure, would you not consider it was your duty that if you felt that there could have been risk of a delta P, to have pointed it out to Paria?
Well, I didn't think there would be one. Remember, this job we had done similar a year before, and there was no consideration there.
Mr. Ali, I'm just asking you again. You have agreed that the contents of the line underwater was a decisive factor to determine whether there could be an active delta P?
In hindsight, yes.
In hindsight. So at that time you didn't?
I didn't think there would be a void in the line at that time.
You did this job again.
Sorry?
If you did this job again, whether for Paria or anyone else, would you identify delta P as a potential risk?
Chief, I'm not going anywhere near this job again.
No, and I can understand why you wouldn't, but do you understand what I'm asking? Because you said, with the benefit of hindsight, you recognize that there was a latent risk, as described in the report. But so if you were to be engaged in this sort of work again, would you identify delta P as a risk?
I would.
Thank you.
Mr. Ali, well, let me ask you then, in hindsight, don't you think that you should have contacted Operations Department of Paria to ascertain the volume of oil which was taken out of this pipeline?
We did contact them. In fact, in my witness statement...
Speak into the microphone, please.
Sorry. In my witness statement, you see that we changed to pushing the oil into the slub barge because we were told they weren't receiving anything at the tank farm.
I will check that, but I can't recall seeing that.
What's that effect? That because we weren't getting anything at the tank farm, that's why we decided to put it into the slug barge. And we assumed that the pressure was too low to push it into the tank farm.
You assumed the pressure was too low where?
The 40 psi. See, we had a limit. Paria asked us not to cross 40 psi air pressure.
I want to ask you a few questions about that when Mr. Maharaj...
Yes, one, yeah. Much obliged, Mr. Chairman. But that brings me to the final question. Did you consider taking the pressure before the job was done on the 25th of February? And since you had an idea of what delta P was, did you consider taking the pressure from the riser at Berth 6 and the pressure to compare the pressure in the habitat?
I didn't consider it. No.
Yeah, I think I should ask. One more question. Did you use a method of air blowing in the 2020 project?
Yes, we did.
And did you use a hyperbaric chamber?
We did.
And did you use an inflatable plug?
We did.
And did you take out the plug inside the hyperbaric chamber?
We did.
Without checking pressure?
Without checking. Yeah.
You're probably very fortunate. I have no further questions.
I do, and I think the only way I can reasonably do that is by using your whiteboard. So I'm going to come across to where you are so that you can answer my questions, please. That microphone. Perhaps you move your chair just, if you move your chair just back a little. Is there a microphone? Otherwise, I'll just do my best at speaking loud enough for everyone to hear me. If anyone can't, just help me out. Can I ask, please, and you perhaps best use the microphone, but can I ask if we're clear about this? Thank you. That we've all assumed that this pipeline here, and in particular the horizontal, is level.
That was the assumption.
Yeah, whose assumption is that?
Well, everyone's.
Right, well, who would know?
Paria would know.
You need to speak into that microphone.
Yeah, Paria would know.
Right. Did anyone tell you that it might not be?
No, in fact, we got a drawing showing reason why it could be flat, or it would be flat.
Right. You see, if it's flat and you're pumping air in at this end, right, and you're pushing the fluid, let's say to start with the fluid level is there,
Yeah.
right, and you're just pushing the fluid around to get rid of some of it, all right?
Yeah.
As you pump air in here, you're pushing that level down, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And this level goes up,
Should.
and then it comes out, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So that assumes this arrangement.
It's a
And the
perfectly-
amount of air pressure you're pumping in at that end
Yeah.
rather depends on this being level, because if this end is lower, if this end does this, instead of what you've drawn, if that's the position, let me just get that right, then what would happen is, what you'd have is the level would be the same through. So if it's there,
Yeah.
at this level, let's say there, at this end, it would be here, wouldn't it? Because
It would be the equal height.
the fluid, well, the fluid here, all of that fluid would go until it got to about here, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So that line was level right the way through. So you'd have more air on this side than you'd have on that side.
Correct.
Correct? And so when you're pushing that, you're now pushing that fluid into a void at this end, correct?
Yeah.
To pump it out. And that's one way. If it was this way, if this end was lower than that end, the level would be, you've now got the fluid in at this here, okay? And it would go all the way to wherever's level at that end, okay? And as you start pushing from that end, you're now going to create, are you not, a much more flat level that you're pushing down on.
Yeah.
Because there'd be lots of water at this end and almost none at that end.
Correct.
Yes?
Yeah, but when you bleed out the pressure,
Then it should equalize. It should. I haven't finished yet. I'm going to give you one more question, right? But can you, that also assumes, does it not, that the pipe is
level.
straight as
level.
well as level?
Level.
What if it's not? What if it's actually doing that? I mean, that's an exaggeration, but...
Well, I think that's what it was. Because if Christopher could say he had 2 air pockets, it had to be like that.
Who would know whether the pipe that's been laid along the bottom of the seabed was level and or straight? Would you know?
No, not without removing all the silt and exposing.
Who would know?
The people who put it on, they own out the line.
Sorry, there's something else you wanted to
No,
say?
I was just going to show you the same drawing.
Right. Thank you very much. So that I'm clear, all right, can we just have the drawing back that we had, please, from the report from Enquiry, please? The one we were looking at earlier that kept disappearing. That's it. Thank you very much. Do you see that? Just looking at the diagram, forget the wording because nobody can read it, frankly. You need some microscope to be able to read the writing. But just looking at the drawing, do you see that what has been assumed there by the expert who's drafted this report, Mr. Kerr, he has shown the level of fluid in a horizontal pipe.
Flat line, yeah.
Assuming that the pipe is flat, that is to say, lying level, and secondly, that it is straight, that it has no undulations.
Correct.
And therefore is showing the level of fluid as having a gap between the level of fluid and the top of the pipe.
Correct.
Constant all the way along.
Correct.
We know that that's wrong, don't we?
We do, from Christopher's description.
From his description, the very fact that he survived.
Yeah.
And indeed, from the autopsy reports of others that survived for some time. There must have been in air pockets.
Yeah.
So your scale of 1 to 5 hours using tanks are well exceeded by their survival for a period of time, at any rate. Can I, so looking at that diagram, if that is wrong, that is to say, at one end of the riser is deeper than the other end, it would create a difference unless you drained off the air in the way you described at one end.
But it doesn't explain everything.
No.
Because if we have air trapped in the middle, the pressure of that air would be with a column of liquid on it. So
And the
just
depth.
that air
And the
pressure
depth.
there should have resisted the movement of the plug. So unless that air trapped in there was released somewhere during the 10 days, are you with me in that?
I am. I mean,
Yeah. So if that is trapped there, it would be like liquid, in that it's going to support this column here.
yes.
At this point, you're going to have, if it's air there, you're going to have what, 20, 30 psi, depending on
The depth
length of the
water.
column.
Yes.
Right?
But the air
And that
that's...
will resist the pressure from the plug coming up. So somewhere along the line, we had to release the pressure that was trapped in between.
Yeah, what we know is that at the point in time when you were carrying out this exercise in draining off an amount of fluid to create the ullage that you wanted, you could not know whether there was any air in this pipe at all. You could only know there was air at either end.
We did not know.
If you had been aware of undulations in the pipe, in which I've described there, would that have made any difference to your assessment?
It depends on how serious the undulation would have been. Gentle undulation would have made a difference.
And the other thing I wanted to ask is, all right, and the last thing I want to ask you about that is this. Any air pocket that does exist within this fluid pipe, all right, any air pocket, if it did, and we know that there must have done, the pressure of the air in that pipe, would that be dependent on the depth of the pipe?
It would depend on the amount of liquid above the air.
Only that?
Yeah. If it's in the seabed, and it doesn't matter how deep it is, once the ends are outside the pipe. So at the top of the pipe, you would have atmospheric pressure.
Yes.
And then any further pressure on the bottom will be caused by the height of the liquid. Again, one of the figures we have there is 1 PSI is 2 feet. So if you have 30 feet, 40 feet, you'll have an additional 20 feet at 20 PSI at the seabed level.
As I understand it, every 10 meters or so,
10 inches.
every 30 feet is something like 1 atmosphere.
Rule of thumb is 2 feet to 1 PSI.
1 PSI, all right, that's what you use, all right. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you. All right, so questions next from Paria. Council from Paria, you can go last, Ms. Maharaj.
Thanks. Morning, Mr. Ali.
Morning.
Your company has done a lot of work at Pointe-à-Pierre for Paria and Petrotrim.
Correct.
In fact, in paragraph 10 of your witness statement, you said that you have done 90% of the marine work at Pointe-à-Pierre, including building, rebuilding of berths at Pointe-à-Pierre.
Correct.
And your company has developed a good reputation in the marine environment.
Correct.
And you held yourself out, when Paria put out its invitation, you held yourself out as a competent company, and justifiably so, to do the work.
I did.
In fact, your company does not only do work in Trinidad, you do work up the Caribbean region.
Correct.
And you're also STOW certified.
Correct.
Could, for those of us who are not familiar, what is the status of a STOW certification? What does it say in your industry?
It's a certification from the Energy Chamber stating that you are proficient or able to do the work that they listed.
You're proficient and competent.
Yep.
So you would not hold Paria to blame for relying on the reputation and competence of your company?
Why not?
Okay. Are you saying that you can't have it both ways? You said you were competent. You held yourself out to Paria as being competent when they invited bids. So I'm asking you, the fact that you are STOW certified and published as STOW certified, the fact that you have done 90% of the work in Paria and its predecessor, the fact that you said you do work up the Caribbean in the industry, is it reasonable for someone like Paria to rely on the competence of your company?
Right, I did 90% of the work there, but the pipeline, the subsea pipeline would probably be about 1%. So I had myself as a contractor who had the manpower and the equipment to carry these jobs. The history of work at Pointe-à-Pierre with Petrotrim and with Paria it would be collaborative. We did joint method statement, joint JHAs, everything. In Petrotrim, they had a separate project department.
Okay, well, I have a limited time, so let me take you directly to 10 and see if 10 is saying in your statement what you're just telling us. From 2000 to present day, LMCS has done about 90% of the marine works in Pointe-à-Pierre.
Correct.
This includes the rebuilding and maintenance of a number of berths.
Correct.
At Pointe-à-Pierre. The rebuilding included replacement and repairs of pipelines.
Correct.
That's both above ground and underwater.
Correct.
You had done work in 2020.
Are you finished with that first question? 90% included the building of berths, repairing of berths and everything. And if you look at the weighting of the percentage, it'd be over 85% topside repair,
Yeah, but
right? And the pipeline will be split between above ground and below
underground.
So
Okay.
I'm just telling you that the subsea pipeline would have been less than 3%.
Okay, I accept that for the time being.
Right, okay.
I want to deal with the job you referred to in 2020 that you did.
Yeah.
And that was a seabed construction, subsea.
Yeah.
And that falls into the 3% you just described.
Correct. Yeah.
And you said it dealt with a 20-foot slope of that line? Or you want me to take it to the paragraph in the statement?
Listen,
Yeah, I think you should.
Yes, I would. I'm just trying to. Paragraph 16 of your supplemental statement. It's coming to you. You see, the method used in 2020 was similar to the method that you used in 2021-22.
Right.
Right, so the method used in 2020 is similar to the method you use now.
Correct. Yeah.
The difference was the configuration of the pipeline,
Correct.
which you recognize is an important factor.
Yep.
The configuration of the pipeline,
Correct.
whether it's as you drew it there or whether as the Incotech report is, the configuration, which include undulation and slope, isn't it?
Go ahead, I'm listening.
No, I don't want you to agree with me, just agree with me. Do you accept that in your statement, when you speak of configuration of the line,
Yeah.
you're also referring to the undulation of the pipeline and the slope of the pipeline?
You know, there's a big difference between undulation and slope.
Yes, I know. That's why I put them separately.
No, so you had a slope difference here.
Right,
You had an elevation difference,
right,
but there was no undulation.
right. What's the difference?
That's what you just said, you know.
No,
Undulation is it will be up and down,
right,
and then you will have a chance of air being trapped or gas being trapped in the
Right.
highs and lows.
and the
Right,
slope,
you have a smooth slope, so you have a gradient.
right. I thank you for that. Yeah, no, well, that is the certification we have, but we don't need to deal with, we're not against time. Because in the 2020 project, the line along the seabed sloped 20 feet at bent 80. Bent 80 is further along than Berth 5, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm listening.
No, isn't it asking you? I don't know. Isn't bent 80 in that figure to the right of Berth 5?
Bend 80 is by Berth 5. Bend 80 is on the main viaduct.
Yeah, but it's on the right of Berth 5. On that diagram.
Yeah.
Right. So it was 20 feet at bent 80 on the main viaduct to 60 feet for approximately at Berth 5.
Correct.
So the slope was about 60 feet. Where did you get that information to undertake that job?
Back up a bit. The slope was 60 feet.
Yes. No, the slope was 20 feet.
The slope wasn't 20 feet. It wasn't 20 or 60. It was sloping between 20 and 60.
Right.
Right. So there's no slope of 20 feet. That doesn't mean anything.
Okay. All right.
Right.
But you're saying that the line was
Okay.
sloping. Where did you get that information?
By the measurement at the riser on both ends.
Why did you measure it?
Sorry?
Why did you measure it if the job then was similar to this one?
I don't understand.
Why did you measure to ascertain the slope in 2020 if the job was similar to this one in 2021, 2022?
Why did I measure it? For the same reason I measured it on the other job.
All right.
to
Did
get as
you-
much information as you could.
Yeah, so you could know what you're doing. Right.
Right.
Did you take steps to ascertain the undulation, slope, configuration with respect to the line between berth 5 and berth 6 on this 2021 job?
No, we went by the information given by Paria,
Which was what?
which was a drawing showing that the under the risers was supported, so they shouldn't be sinking at that point.
But that's at the point of the risers.
Yeah.
What about the 1,200 feet between berth 5 and berth 6? What information
Well,
you
I couldn't
relied on?
measure that.
Beg your pardon?
We couldn't measure it, it was under the mud.
Yes.
So we assumed, or we took Paria's thing that it was a level pipeline.
You took Paria's what?
Word that it was a level pipeline.
Where
In
did
fact,
you get the word that this was a level pipeline?
That's what they said. In fact, that's what they're still saying.
Where is that?
You check any one of the statement, you'll see that that's what they're still saying, that the pipe is level. They maintained it before and after.
No. When you were bidding for the job, who maintained to you?
Paria,
Who at Paria?
they gave some drawings showing the line was level.
Drawings, you had drawings showing that the line was level.
Yeah.
What drawings are those?
And they're my statement.
Mr. Chairman, you may be referring to page 230, 932. 932, 00932. Of his statement. The page number, sir. The page number, Mr. Chairman. Right, it's up on the screen. Right. So on the assumption that the line is flat, I take it in hindsight you are saying what could have caused the delta P problem is that the line was undulating.
It could be one of the factors.
It could be one of the factors. And it would depend on the level of undulation, we take it? Well, I mean, it's
It
reasonable.
would.
Right. You said I'll get straight to the points. You said you were blowing out the line in order to facilitate the work.
Correct.
We have had reference in this commission to make the line clear and dry.
Correct.
What do you understand about that phrase in the context of this job?
In my submission, my proposal that I submitted, we stated that we are going to take out sufficient to get the plug in. Right? We never intended to drain the line, empty the line, even though it appears that that's what Paria wanted. But we said we were going to just take out sufficient to put the plug in.
So you would sufficient means to make the area that you're working dry, that you could work.
It didn't have to be dry, just one so I could get the plug in. If the wall of the line was wet or whatever, it didn't make a difference.
Right. But when I say dry, I don't mean paper dry. I mean dry from liquid.
So empty.
Empty, yes.
Right, yeah.
Right. And you were prepared to take it down.
Sorry.
Yeah, you were prepared to take down the liquid to about 30 feet.
30 feet from the top, yeah.
And you embarked on that exercise using two methods. Is not so? Didn't you use a method where you were pumping into the slop barge and then another where you was pumping into 66?
Yeah, initially it went into 66, and when we couldn't get the objective we wanted, we put it into the slop barge.
I thought you said this morning, did you not use the slop barge to clear the elbow at 6, at berth 6?
I don't think so.
Berth 6 comes up and connects to the pipe, the piping along the racks. You clear the elbow before you broke it, did you not?
We cleared everything above the riser, not just the elbow.
I know.
They had a massive piping on number 6.
But then
So if
before
that's
you
what
open 6 to start your blowing at 5, did you not have to clear that elbow, that line?
I'm not sure where you get to that. Could you?
No, but you said this morning to the commission that you had opened the top of 6
After,
when you were blowing.
after we blew out the top side piping,
Right.
then we removed the elbow and had access to the top of the riser.
That's it.
Good.
And where did you blow that into? Before
what
you removed the elbow.
That's what we just said. We blew everything from on the berth into 66 Sealine.
Right.
Ashore.
You didn't just say that. That's the point. So you
No, that's what I
started.
said. That's what I said.
Right. So you started the process by blowing into 66 Sealine to shore into the tank farm.
We started the process by blowing into 36 Sealine, which pushed the content of 36 into 66.
Into 66 and
And then
to shore.
66 went to the tank.
Right.
Correct.
That's the point. So the process started with blowing into 66, then you moved into the slop barge, or the slop barge into 36. Which one?
We say it one more time. Slow this up, right?
Yeah.
We blew from number 5 berth into 36 Sealine.
Right.
36 Sealine was directed into 66.
Right.
66 emptied into a tank ashore.
Right. How much did you blow at that stage?
I have no idea.
The only amount that you could measure is what you had in the barge.
What I had in the barge, correct?
And you were always blowing from berth 5.
But correct.
But berth 5 doesn't just exist, it connects somewhere else.
No, it terminated at berth 5. If you look at the drawing, berth 5 went across the berth,
Yes.
down on the next side to number 8.
Because I think that helps you, Mr. Peterson. If you use the one on the screen, as I understand what you're saying, this is
Yeah.
this is 5,
Right.
and the air is being blown in here, pushing the air around. Thank you very much. Pushing the air around, and this is the connection from 6 from 36 through to 66. That's where this dotted line here is the connection that was made. Is that right?
Correct, yeah.
And that's the one that's being pushing the fluid into tank 111. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is connected to the riser at
Correct,
6. Yeah. So when you're pumping air in at that end, it's pushing the fluid down here, across here, up that way, into this temporary pipe that you've connected, and down there.
Yeah.
I think that's where you're
Not
at.
quite so. But at berth 5, where you connect your line, where does
There's a valve there.
where does the right side go to? That goes
That's what I
to
said. It goes across.
PB 80.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not trying to trap you, I'm trying to help you really.
No. So there's a valve there
Right,
that separated it from.
right.
Uh,
But you notice in some of the numbers that were shown this morning, I see reference to PB 80 some
But
barriers.
there was no connection between the two.
Right. There was no connection from PB80.
No,
Why you say that? Tell us, help us. We weren't there.
because you had two valves locking off
All right.
between, I think if you look on that drawing, you'll see one. There was a second valve close to that.
Right. And whatever was pumped all the way into 66 was commingled with other product, wasn't it? Or was it purely what came from the line?
66 Sealine was full with crude oil. 36 had fuel oil. The product from 36...
Into the microphone, please.
Speak into the mic.
Yeah. The product from 36 was pushed into 66, so it would have commingled there.
Right. Right. And you checked the level at Berth 6 to
Berth
see whether
6.
you had achieved your goal.
Correct.
But I think you told the commission this morning you never checked the level at Berth 5.
No, we didn't check that.
But best practice and hindsight would now assist us that you should have checked 5 also.
Well, now that we know the line was level, and
Now do we know what?
that the line was level,
But we don't know the extent to which that impacted the incident.
no, we don't.
Well, I prefer to say accident. I like how Incotec says it. So we don't know if that is really, that's what you surmise as a possible explanation, isn't it?
I'm not making any explanation. I'm giving you a fact,
Okay.
right? We pumped down the line at 6. We found minus 30 feet from the surface. And as
No,
I
the
said,
explanation I'm talking about is so the Delta event, which we all accepted, has now occurred. So one of the things you anticipate that could have caused the Delta P event is, you're saying, undulation in the line.
I'm saying that one of the things.
Right. But you cannot tell us the level of the undulation and whether it could have had an impact on the Delta P or whether it should be a factor to be ignored.
I think I clearly stated I don't know what caused the Delta P. I'm suggesting that
Okay.
one of the things.
Now, I want the plugs were installed on the 13th of February.
Correct.
This job recommenced 12 or 13 days later, the 25th.
12 days.
12, yeah, 12. I want you to look at paragraph 61 of your statement. Sorry, before I go there, I want to take you back to something Mr. Maraj had dealt with. At page 104 of the, 1004 of the daily reports of the core bundle. Item 1. Item 4. Item 4. And it says, you see at item 4 on that daily report,
I do. Yeah.
it says across on job status, level was checked after draining at PB number 80 and oil content was approximately 8 feet below the T on riser. Mr. Maraj took you there. Isn't it that that's correct because you needed to drain 8 feet down on PBB to get under the level of the valve?
Sorry. Repeat that again.
This daily report that says the level was checked after draining at PB80, and oil content was approximately 8 feet below T on the riser.
The job that we were doing had nothing to do with PB80.
No, but did you were, PB80 connects with Berth 5.
I said to you, there were two two
valves.
valves that were closed off.
But they do not need to drain. That is what I understand this report to be saying. You need to drain 8 feet on that side.
We had nothing to do. That was a completely different system, was shut off. The work was between number 5 and number 6.
So what's your comment on this daily report?
I didn't write that daily
I know,
report.
you know,
Right?
But it's a
So
contemporaneous record.
I have no idea what
It's a daily record.
It's not my daily report.
And I know, Mr.
So why are you
trying to
asking
find-
me?
Okay. So your position is not your
It's not my
record.
report. I have no
Don't-
idea what it is. All I could see in the description, it contains with Sealine 36. Sealine 36, when we were working, we had nothing to do with identity.
You got your position on that?
Yeah.
So I want to take you now to paragraph 61. I'll come back. Remind me, I'll come back to it. At paragraph 61, you said the fact that the works did not proceed within 4 days would have been a risk, as we were worried that the conditions of the line may change. What do you mean by that?
Exactly what I mean.
No, that's not good enough. Sorry. What changes you were worried about, not concerned, worried about?
The plug was my main concern.
Beg your pardon? Sorry.
The plug was my main concern.
Yes.
Right? We had done this job using the plug within 4 days and we had no problem. Any extended period, you could have start losing pressure on the plug. The plug was going to be in a oily condition. Even though it's supposed to be resistant to oil, you could have certain dissolving of the rubber. So that was my concern.
That was your worry.
That was my concern.
But then you went on in that same paragraph to say, I was not targeting any particular condition, just
So I wasn't
conditions
targeting
in general.
anything. I'm just saying over that period of time, things could have happened. Things always happen over a period of time.
Right. And the fact that you were concerned about the plug and the holding of the plug, did you have delta P in mind?
Actually, I was more concerned about pollution.
You were more concerned about
Pollution.
pollution?
If your
which
plug
way?
failed, because as far as I was concerned, the method that you prevented the plug going down because of the liquid we were supposed to have there. Right? I was concerned that if the plug failed and water got in, you'll get pollution in the harbor. I think that is addressed further down in my statement.
No, but yeah,
I
that's,
suggest a bit further down.
you had already gotten 30 feet clearance,
Yep,
and your concern was the pollution.
yep.
Is that
If
the pollution?
water got into the line because the plug failed, the oil will float out into the,
That's the inflatable plug,
yeah.
and the mechanical plug will not hold.
The mechanical plug, as I clearly stated, was to prevent molten material getting down to the inflatable plug.
Right.
And it was also meant as a block against a plug coming up.
And the inflatable plug was to prevent hydrocarbons coming up.
Well, also to prevent the molten material going into the oil.
Right. I thought it was the mechanical plug to do that. The inflatable plug is to do that too?
You ever heard of a double block?
No,
Yeah, so that's
just
the
help
way,
us.
you know,
You're the expert on Mr.
take
Stein.
a
I
little
don't
bit
mean anything by it.
extra here. You know.
Right, so the inflatable plug will serve both purposes. That's what you're telling us.
Yep.
Right. Having the period of 12 days having run, and you having a worry about the condition,
Yeah.
did you do any pressure checks?
No. We put the chamber into operation
Yeah, I know.
and observed it for a while.
Did you check to see if the integrity of the plug had been compromised?
We put it under operated pressure and observed it
You did that on the 25th.
on the 25th.
Did you then, having had that plug in there for 12 days, having not checked Berth 5 on the 13th, when you, in my respectful view, ought to have done, did you go and check Berth 5 at that stage to see what was happening across there?
No,
So you don't know what the level of the liquid was on the 25th in Berth 5?
they opened the flange at Berth 5 and they did a pressure test in there
When?
on the 25th.
Was that pressure test on the weld?
On the well.
Right. It wasn't a pressure test to test what the pressure was in the pipe.
No, it was on the well itself.
It was to test the pressure on the weld that you'd previously performed. Is that right,
What I have to put in?
Mr. Ali? On the weld that
on
you
the weld,
previously
yeah.
performed. Thank you.
This is in response to him, right? Yeah, you said you did the I was being distracted. You said you did the pressure check on 5 the morning
the
of
well,
25th.
on the well, yeah.
Right. You supervise the installation of those plugs?
The plug at number 6, but yeah.
Number 6, you supervise?
I did.
Why you personally supervise those plugs? The installation?
Whenever we have lifting, I supervise personally. Right? That day we had lifting going on, and I was on the barge supervising the installation of the plug, the installation of the chamber.
You have to use the microphone, Mr. Ali. We
Sorry.
can't hear you otherwise. Thank you.
Is there any reason why you also did not supervise the removal of those plugs?
Lifting wasn't involved, so I didn't go there on that date.
Is that right? Isn't lifting involved in removing the plug?
When I say lift, I mean with the crane badge. So,
Or did you not use the crane to take the mechanical plug out?
no,
There's no cable attached to it to remove it?
no.
How,
It was moved
how
by
on earth,
chain,
forgive me, how
by
how
chain
did that,
hoists, chain hoists inside there.
a what?
Chain hoists.
A chain hoist, not the crane? All right.
But when was the habitat put in place?
On the 13th.
And you said that, I'm curious, you said that Paria told you that the line was flat,
Yeah,
the horizontal?
yeah.
What page is this? Mr. Chairman and Member Commission, 598 of the core bundle. I wish to take the witness there.
$598 the core bundle or $598 of his statement?
599, it goes on to 599. That's his question to Paria, right? Addendum 1, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Number 7, there was a query at the bidding process, Mr. Ali. Were you familiar with that question? So what is the water depth at with 5 and 6?
Yep.
And the storm moorings?
Yep.
What do you understand the response to be? The water depth varies between approximately 60 to 70 feet.
You see the storm mooring?
Yeah.
The word storm mooring. This job was in 3 parts. Storm mooring has nothing to do with boat 5 and 6.
All right.
Okay?
The water depth was there. Not the storm mooring, the depth of the water.
At the storm mooring, not at boat 5 and 6. The storm moorings were placed throughout the harbor. There were about 10 moorings that were placed at different points in the harbor.
I know, but it says at.
At the storm mooring were in the harbor, not close to number 5 and 6.
They said at boats 5 and 6.
There were no storm moorings at boat 5 and 6.
No, that's correct. What it says is, Mr. Ali,
says-
Mr. Ali just now.
Not,
What it says now.
there was no storm mooring by the riser.
Yes, just now. Wait, please.
Yeah.
The water depth, what is the water depth at boat 5 and 6 and the
storm mooring.
Right. So
Right.
they're not saying the storm mooring is at 5 and 6.
Right. So you had some storm moorings around the harbor. And you
forget the
had
storm
boat
mooring.
5 and 6. So at the storm moorings, it would have been 70, 60. So it ranged across from where number 1 boat, number 6 boat, and number 7 boat. So you had the storm moorings displaced all around there. Right?
Right. I'm talking about the water depth. Does it not tell
So that
signal
was the
to
water
you?
depth throughout the harbor.
Does it not signal to you that the line there would not be flat?
No.
And that flat line is a half-inch thick steel line, isn't
what?
it? How thick is the line? 36.
About half inch. Yeah.
Right. Embedded in concrete.
No, has a concrete coating on it
Right. And that is to do what? To keep it steady
to keep it from floating.
and from bending.
No. It's a weight coating. Concrete on the pipeline is a weight coating. If it doesn't have that, and you remove the liquid from the line, it will float up.
Right.
So that is meant to keep it on the seabed.
Right. So having removed the liquid, you took no steps to ascertain the condition of the line.
How could you assess? We removed the liquid in the riser. We checked on that piece.
Right. And you left how much in the line?
We took out 30 feet of liquid from the riser
On one side.
on one side.
And from your calculation, how much was left in the line?
It should have been about 1,200, about 1,100.
But you agree that that wasn't left there? If
I
you
don't
had
know.
this, if
I don't know.
You don't know? Even in hindsight, after having this violent vortex that Mr. Budram described, you still don't know?
I don't know.
Before you move on from that particular point, can I ask you, please, can we have the addendum document back, please? Thank you. Can we go to the question that Mr. Peterson was asking, which is number 7, please? So, who's asking? You see, it says query. If you look at the screen,
Yeah.
it says query. What is the water depth at berths 5 and 6 and the storm moorings? And then response, the water depth varies between approximately 60 and 70 feet. First of all, Who's asking the question? Who's the query?
That would be one of the bidders on the job.
One of the...
The bidders. That came out after the send out the tender. The people who were bidding the job would have sent in questions.
Right. If you go back to the beginning of the document, please, just one page up. A bit further. Paria Fuel Trading Company Limited, miscellaneous repairs and refurbishment works at 5 and 6 berths and main viaduct. Addendum 1. The following are queries raised with clarifications. The addendum has to be signed and submitted with the technical tender submission. Right? And so the query is raised by whom?
Sorry?
Who raises the query? The potential bidder.
The bidders, yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Might not have been you, but whoever it was.
Yeah.
These are the queries that have been raised. So the first one there is, who is responsible for pumping back from the berths to clear the lines with water? Do you see that?
Yeah.
Then the answer, or the response to that is, the contractor is responsible for the safe removal of hydrocarbon contents from the line and to ensure that the line is clear and dry. What did you understand that to mean?
Well, that's what I said. In our submission, we said we weren't going to clear the line.
You were
we
not?
were just going to take off there. And they accepted that proposal.
Whose response is this, if you read this document, when you're given this document?
Right, that's Paria's response.
That's their response. So go to 7 as well, please. Question by one of the potential bidders, what is the water depth at berths 5 and 6 and the storm moorings? And you could have broken that down into 2 questions, couldn't you? You could say, what is the water depth at berths 5 and 6? And then another question, what is the water depth at the storm moorings?
Correct.
Right. First of all, berths 5 and 6, when that question's being asked, are we talking about what's in the pipeline, or are we talking about the water depth from berth 5 to the seabed?
To the seabed, correct.
Right. So it's out, forget the pipeline altogether.
Yeah.
We're just talking about the water depth, right?
Correct, yeah.
And it's the same 5 and 6, and then the storm moorings are some other
Yeah, they're scattered
asset.
around the harbour. Yeah.
I follow that. And the answer by Paria is, as Mr. Peterson's pointed out, varies between approximately 60 feet and 70 feet.
Correct, yeah.
Right. Without identifying whether that's 5, 6, or the storm moorings. Right? And given that it varies between 60 feet and 70 feet, that is a 10-foot difference, correct? Yeah. And a 10-foot difference at one end is considerable, different ullage depth at that end than it would be at the other end, 5 and 6.
No, the ullage was measured from the top.
Yes.
So
it would be the same distance down,
Yeah.
but the fluid, I didn't mean ullage, I meant the fluid below that to
Yeah,
the
it
elbow.
could be different, yeah.
Might be as much as 10 feet difference,
correct, yeah.
right? If that's right. Or they may have been referring to the storm moorings and the
didn't know.
berths. We don't know which. It's not clear.
That's
is it?
what I read it to be,
All right.
the difference at the different storm moorings.
You read it to mean what the difference between...
At the different storm moorings.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thanks. I'm sorry to have
Thanks.
interrupted.
I'd like to pick it up from there. Why you read it and restricted it only to the storm moorings and just don't factor in berth 5 and berth 6, which are the berths you are concerned with?
Because I knew the water depth varied from the storm moorings from one to the other.
And from berth 5 to 6, it must vary.
They're close enough, so we expected it to be the same. Yeah.
But Paria told you there's a 10.
No, Paria said it was different between 60 and 70.
Be reading
at the
what
storm
Paria
moorings
said.
And 5 and 6.
Mr. Angley, reading what Paria said. So I am not saying it, right? Paria is also saying you're restricting your consideration to the storm moorings. Paria is also saying a 10-foot differential. In their answer, they may be wrong, but that is the information they were giving you at that point, that there's a difference in the seabed. And Mr. Chairman, I thank you. There's a difference on the seabed between 60 and 70, which is a 10-foot difference. Don't you understand that they're telling you there it is not flat?
I don't really, but if they understood it was not flat, you didn't think they would have picked it up in my submissions?
Pick up what in the submissions?
In my method statement and all those things.
No,
So
that's
they
something
could-
else. That's something else entirely. They're telling you, you see, where we are.
Okay, let's make it simple.
No,
I didn't appreciate that. Maybe they were not clear enough to.
Ali, I could accept that. I could
Yeah.
understand that.
So they should have made it a little more clear.
Reading this, you could have read it to pertain to the storm moorings, not
Not
distance
but
between-
fine.
Because had you appreciated the 10-foot differential between Berth 5 and Berth 6, you would have then be revisiting your understanding as to whether the line was sloping, undulating, or flat.
Well, I would tell you if it was sloping. I wouldn't tell you what undulating.
Okay, well, at least it put you on an inquiry.
Yep.
Following on from that, would it not have alerted you to perhaps check the seabed levels?
Looking at the seabed, you wouldn't know. The seabed itself was level,
I
but the
appreciate
pipe was submerged under the mud.
You couldn't see the pipe
You
the
couldn't
whole
see
way
the
along?
pipe, so you could see the mud, you could see the depth of the seabed.
Right.
So even if that meant 5 and 6 there, it would tell you where the mud was on the seabed, not where the pipeline was.
Are you saying that it's not immediately identifiable where the pipeline is
No, how
on
far
the
below?
seabed?
No.
So it could have been completely buried.
Yep, it's
So
completely.
although
buried.
covered in concrete, it could have been completely buried by some feet.
Yep, by some considerable amount, yeah.
Yeah, all right. But Mr. Peterson's saying, did this not alert you to the fact that there was a differential in the heights?
No.
It didn't. All right, very well. Thank you, Mr.
That just brings me to the next question. The drawings that you put in your statement that I took you to earlier at page 932, those are not engineering drawings. Those are just schematic drawings.
Yeah,
So they're not an accurate representation of what is actually under the water.
no. But that's not the drawing I was referring to.
That's not the drawing I was referring to?
No.
Well, in fairness to you, could we get what you're referring to? This one is in a statement. This one is attached to your statement, huh? That I just.
Yeah.
Was there another one attached to your statement?
I believe, from memory, it's either the page. If you just scroll down one or up one, you'll see a different one. Yes, there you go. There's a different one. Is that the one you meant?
Sorry?
That's also schematic.
No. Sandbag, concrete bags.
Mr. Chairman, if there's another one, in fairness to him, I think we should.
No, I agree. I agree. Let's be clear about what you're talking about, Mr.
Yeah.
Ali. Yeah. You had a different diagram to that in the tender document. Yeah. I don't think there's one in his statement. Attached to his statement. No. I think you might need to look at the tender document.
Could I confirm my lord?
No, well, no, not really. You're in the midst of your evidence. I don't know if Ms. Persaud Mirage can help us. I don't think there's a different diagram attached to your statement. A lot of material is attached to your statement, but there are only, as I recall it, those two schematics. There's a picture of the chamber, which we've got. I don't think there's any other. Can you help us as to what it looks like?
Could I go first?
No.
I'd rather you didn't.
Don't interrupt me after.
I think we're getting there.
That makes sense.
With the cement bags.
The one on the tender document.
626,
626.
what, of his statement?
Volume 2.
Volume 2?
It was after the Incotech report, we submitted it.
No, he can't be talking about that, can he? He's not talking about this, is he? Jesus. Well, I'm not going to delay this any longer. We'll come back to it, please.
Yeah.
Mr. Peterson, if you move on, please, and we'll try and locate it for you, all right, Mr. Ali?
Sorry.
We're going to try and locate it for you, please. So we're going to carry on for the moment, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So make sure you keep speaking into that microphone, please. Speak into there. All right.
Yeah, I missed what you said there.
All right.
Mr. Ali, I just want to, I'm hesitant to do this because we only sent it to the commission yesterday. But are you aware this morning, well, this morning, my team boasting and telling me this morning like it's an achievement. I said yesterday, a bathymetric chart for that area, Berth 5 and 6, have you ever seen it?
No.
Are you familiar with such a chart? Do you have the technical expertise to read such a chart?
Do we have that to put on the screen, please? The chart that was provided to us at about 7 o'clock this morning.
It was uploaded. Aye.
I think we might want the third page of